You never really know the exact moment when love starts to fade. It doesn't announce itself. It just quietly shifts. Looking back now, I can see it. The night everything changed, the night that quietly rewired everything I thought I knew about love, loyalty, and who I was. Henry lay beside me, breathing slow and steady, the kind of rest that only comes after long days of hard, honest work. The faint scent of motor oil and soap hung in the air, his scent. The smell of a man who built his life with his own two hands, who came home tired but faithful, dependable, safe. And maybe that's what undid me, the safety, the sameness, the slow, quiet comfort that had started to feel more like a cage than a home. Every night blurred into the next. Dinner, dishes, a few words about the day, a bit of TV, then silence. No spark, no thrill, just routine. Predictable love. The kind you keep telling yourself is enough, until the day you realize it isn't. Stay with me till the end, because what came next wasn't planned, it wasn't even wanted. But it happened. And it changed everything I believed about what it means to be faithful, and what it means to be alive. And if you're new here, subscribe to Dark Infidelity Stories, where every confession reminds us that sometimes the deepest betrayals start in the quietest hearts. Then came Daniel. Everything Henry wasn't. Smooth, sure, successful. The kind of man who turned heads just by walking into a room. His easy grin, those tailored suits, the confidence of someone who owned every space he entered. And the worst part? He was Henry's business partner, the one man who should have been completely off limits. But boundaries blur fast when you start starving for attention. What began as harmless teasing over lunch meetings turned into midnight texts, then hotel rooms, then secrets. 4 years, I lived two parallel lives. One as Henry's devoted wife and mother to our two boys, Tommy and Jake, and another as Daniel's lover, wrapped in lies and whispers, pretending that one world didn't cancel out the other. When the boys were born, I didn't ask questions. I told myself the timing didn't matter. Love was what made a family, not DNA. But the guilt had other ideas. It crept in at night, soft at first, then louder, until the whispers became panic. Henry started watching me differently, not angry, not suspicious, just aware. Too quiet. Too calm. When I told Daniel about it, he brushed it off with that arrogant smirk. "He's too loyal to ever leave you, Susan," he said. I wanted to believe him. For a while I did. Until the day I came home and found Henry sitting at the kitchen table. The afternoon light fell across his face, pale, still, his hands trembling just slightly. Beside him was a small stack of papers. I didn't need to look. I already knew. Paternity test. My heart started pounding so hard I thought he could hear it. My throat was dry, my voice wouldn't come. He didn't even look up when he spoke, just said, in a voice so steady it broke me, "You should have told me the truth." That was it. No shouting. No rage. No tears. Just that one sentence. Then he walked out to the garage and didn't come back inside for hours. I texted Daniel in a panic. He knows. 10 minutes later he replied, "Stay calm. He'll cool off. He needs you." But Daniel didn't know Henry. Henry wasn't the type to explode. He was the type to plan. The following weeks felt like walking on glass. Henry still went to work, still cooked for the boys, still said goodnight. But his eyes were different, lifeless, detached, like he was looking at a stranger who happened to share his bed. He stopped touching me, stopped asking questions. And every time I left the room, I felt his gaze follow, not in love, but in quiet calculation. I tried to hold it together, pretend everything was fine. PTA meetings, school runs, open houses. But inside I was unraveling. Then one afternoon, Daniel called from his warehouse, furious. "Someone's been messing with my inventory," he said. "This isn't random, Susan. It feels personal." A chill shot through me. I didn't have to guess who it was. Still, I lied. "You're overthinking." Henry wouldn't. But even as the words left my mouth, I didn't believe them. Days later, chaos erupted. Chemical leaks, IRS audits, accusations of insurance fraud. Daniel's empire started crumbling, fast. At the same time, my own life began to twist apart. My car broke down at work. A coolant leak destroyed a client's shipment. I was humiliated. That night, I confronted Henry. He didn't deny a thing. Just looked at me with those cold, empty eyes and said, "Maybe you should be more careful about who you trust." That's when it hit me. He was behind it all. Every silent blow. Every subtle collapse. And he was doing it perfectly, quietly, legally, methodically. I had no proof, no leverage, and no way out. Still I tried. I moved money, spoke to lawyers, even drafted divorce papers that painted me as the victim. Full custody, alimony, the works. Desperate moves from a woman who still thought she could control the damage. But Henry was 2 steps ahead. When my sister Margaret went to deliver those papers, she came back pale as a ghost. In her trembling hands was an envelope. Photos, screenshots, recordings. "He knows everything, Susan," she whispered. "Everything." That night I didn't sleep. Every lie I'd ever told circled me like smoke in a burning room. Suffocating, relentless. Then came the message that froze my blood. From Daniel. Henry texted me. "Wants to meet. Something about insurance. The old ice factory. I'm going." My hands went cold. My mind blanked. I didn't even think, I just grabbed my keys and drove. The steering wheel was slick in my palms, my heartbeat loud enough to drown out the engine. Streetlights flashed past like the ticking of a countdown, one I couldn't stop. Each mile closer to that abandoned factory felt like a step toward my own undoing. I didn't know if I was going there to save Daniel, or to finally face the reckoning I had built with my own hands. I knew Henry. The man was methodical, never rash, never ruled by impulse. If he had called Daniel to that desolate place, I knew something irreversible was about to unfold. When I arrived, Daniel's BMW was already there, crookedly jammed beside a rusted gate like it had been parked in panic. The building ahead stood hollow and skeletal, its broken windows glinting like jagged glass smiles beneath the dim streetlight. Inside, the air felt stale, metallic, haunted by the faint hum of old refrigeration units that hadn't died yet. My footsteps echoed through the emptiness as I followed the faint sound of voices deeper inside. When I reached the main floor, I froze. Under a harsh, white light stood Henry. Calm, collected, terrifyingly composed. Across from him, Daniel looked wrecked, sweat-stained shirt, trembling hands, eyes darting like prey that finally realized it was cornered. Then the walls came alive. Screens flickered on, text messages, photos, voice recordings. Every secret, every lie, every digital fingerprint of betrayal that had ever passed between Daniel and me. And then I saw it, the one message I could never take back. "Henry's such a fool. When this is over, he'll be paying child support for your sons." My own voice echoed through the room, cruel and unmistakable. I felt my knees weaken. My stomach turned cold. I wanted to disappear, to dissolve into the shadows. Henry turned toward me. His expression wasn't hateful. It was worse. Detached. Surgical. Like a surgeon preparing to cut out rot. "Welcome, Susan," he said quietly. "You're just in time to watch the truth unravel." "Henry, please." I took a step forward, but he raised his hand. "Don't." That single word felt like a wall, tall, cold, final. Daniel tried to interject. "Henry, listen." But Henry's voice sliced through him like glass. "I listened for years while you two destroyed my life. Tonight, you'll listen to me." He turned toward a long table lined with folders, each one thick, neatly organized, deliberate. He picked one up and tossed it toward me. It slid across the dusty floor and stopped at my feet. "Go on," he said softly. "Open it." I did. And I wished I hadn't. Inside were printed copies of everything: text threads, wire transfers, call logs, even half-signed legal drafts with my handwriting. He had cataloged every lie, every secret, every stolen dollar. "Henry, please," I whispered. "You don't understand." "I understand perfectly," he replied. His tone was steady, almost too calm. "You lied about our children. You drained our joint account. You planned to leave me bankrupt, raising children that weren't even mine." The words crushed me. "I was scared," I said through tears. "You stopped looking at me, Henry. You stopped caring. I thought I didn't matter anymore." He gave a dry, bitter laugh. "So you fixed that by sleeping with my business partner? By lying for 13 years? Daniel finally spoke up, his voice trembling but defiant. "This is between you and her, Henry. Leave me out of it." Henry turned slowly, his gaze locking onto Daniel. The calm in his voice was more dangerous than shouting. "Oh, Daniel, you're not out of anything." One of the screens changed: bank ledgers, company documents, offshore transfers. I stared in confusion until realization hit me like a slap. Henry had uncovered everything. Daniel's tax fraud, shell companies, fake invoices, all of it. "You used my name on half your dirty deals," Henry said. "Did you think I wouldn't notice?" "The IRS did." Daniel's face turned ghostly pale. "You wouldn't?" "I already did," Henry interrupted. "They'll be at your door soon. Enjoy federal prison." Daniel lunged, cursing. Henry sidestepped effortlessly, grabbed his wrist, and twisted. Daniel howled as Henry slammed him against the concrete wall, then struck him once. A clean, deliberate punch that sent blood splattering across the floor. "Henry, stop!" I screamed. "Please?" He turned to me, breathing slow and steady. "You think this is violence, Susan? No. This is justice. The kind that leaves scars no one else can see." Daniel collapsed to the ground, clutching his face. Henry stood over him, the embodiment of a storm that had finally made landfall. Then he looked back at me. "You once called me boring, predictable, a fool." His voice softened, almost sorrowful. "You were right about one thing. I am predictable. I fix things. And tonight, I'm fixing the biggest mistake of my life." He picked up a remote from the table and pressed a button. The screens flickered again, this time live feeds. My photos. My messages. My voice calling him pathetic. All of it streamed to the world. "What are you doing?" I cried. Henry's lips curved into the faintest, coldest smile. "Telling the truth." On the screen, the live chat exploded. Names I recognized scrolled past, coworkers, clients, even my sister. My entire life was being stripped bare, piece by piece, in front of everyone I knew. "You're destroying me," I whispered. Henry's reply was quiet, measured, final. "No, Susan. You destroyed yourself. I'm just making sure the world sees it." I fell to my knees, sobbing. Henry walked to the exit, stopped, and looked back one last time. "The lawyers will handle everything," he said. "Don't contact me again." "Henry, please. What about the boys?" He hesitated just a moment, a flicker of pain maybe, then said, "They'll be fine. They'll have a father who loves them enough to protect them from the woman who lied to them their entire lives." And then he was gone. Daniel was still on the floor, bleeding and groaning. I didn't look at him. My body trembled as I stared at the glowing screens, every flicker a reminder of the life I had destroyed with my own hands. When I stumbled outside, the night air hit me like a punishment. My car felt foreign, my reflection unrecognizable in the rearview mirror. By the time I reached home, the phone had already begun to ring. My mother, my office, my friends, my sister crying through the receiver. It was over. Everything. And for the first time I understood, Henry hadn't taken revenge. He had reclaimed control. I spent years believing I was the smart one, the manipulator, the strategist, the one who'd come out on top. But quiet, unassuming Henry had played the long game. And in the end, he won. The weeks that followed blurred together, court filings, headlines, whispers. Doors closed. Eyes turned away. My name became a warning. And I was left alone with one unshakable truth: Henry didn't destroy me. He simply showed everyone who I truly was. My name spread across the internet like wildfire. That live stream Henry started, it didn't die when the night ended. People clipped it, shared it, reposted it with captions designed to humiliate me. Cheating wife gets exposed live. Woman lies about paternity for 13 years. I had become content. A viral warning. A modern cautionary tale people whispered about in comment sections. Daniel vanished by morning. His company collapsed within a week. News outlets splashed headlines about tax fraud and money laundering. The IRS seized everything. He filed for bankruptcy. The man I once thought would protect me didn't even send a message. No call. No text. Nothing. I suppose that was fair. We had built our empire on deceit, and now we were both buried beneath it. Then came my own downfall. The firm suspended my real estate license after the scandal reached clients. Complaints poured in. Deals evaporated. My phone, once a constant buzz of opportunity, turned into a graveyard of missed calls that all began the same way. "I'm sorry, Susan, but my mother won't speak to me if I keep working with you." My sister Margaret wouldn't even meet my eyes. The one time she came by with groceries, she just set the bags down on the counter and whispered, "You should have told the truth when you still had the chance." After that, the silence in my house became unbearable. Every room was a ghost. Henry's laughter still lingered faintly in the walls. The boys' voices echoed in the halls at night. Even the smell of morning coffee made me ache. It felt like living in a museum built from my own sins. 6 months later, I sat trembling in a cold courtroom, hands clasped so tightly they hurt, as the judge read through the evidence Henry had submitted. Every file, every receipt, every lie, undeniable. Then came the results that ended everything. The DNA confirmed it. Neither Tommy nor Jake were Henry's biological sons. But he didn't fight for custody to punish me. He fought to protect them, and he won. When the judge's voice echoed, "Full custody awarded to Mr. Dalton," something inside me shattered quietly. It wasn't anger. It was shame. The shame of realizing that even after all I'd done, Henry was still the better parent. I was ordered to pay restitution, child support fraud, financial damages, falsified signatures. I had nothing left. I sold the jewelry Daniel once gave me, sold my car, moved into a tiny one-bedroom apartment above a grocery store, a place where the walls hum with the sound of strangers' lives. At night, I hear mothers downstairs calling their kids for dinner. Their voices drift through the vents, soft and ordinary, and I have to cover my ears to keep from breaking down. Henry never reached out. He didn't need to. His silence spoke louder than any words. But I still saw him, once, from afar. Tommy had a little league game. I arrived early, standing behind the fence near the parking lot, hidden in plain sight. And there he was, Henry, sitting in the bleachers, laughing, cheering. The boys smiling every time they looked at him. He looked lighter, freer. Like the weight he carried all those years had finally been lifted. I waited until the game ended and walked toward the bleachers. My legs felt fragile, like they could shatter at any moment. He saw me before I could speak. His expression didn't change, not anger, not hatred, just a quiet acknowledgement. "Henry," I said softly, "please, can we talk?" He didn't look at me. His eyes stayed fixed on the field where Tommy and Jake were running and laughing. "There's nothing to talk about, Susan," he said evenly. "The boys, they miss me," I whispered, voice cracking. "They ask about me, don't they?" He nodded once, still not turning. "They're in therapy. They're learning how to process everything. They're doing fine." I took a step closer, tears burning down my face. "I made mistakes, Henry." That's when he finally looked at me. There was no cruelty in his eyes. But there wasn't softness either. It was the look of a man who had once loved deeply and learned never to again. "You didn't make mistakes," he said quietly. "You made choices, and now you're living with them." I swallowed hard. "I lost everything." "Good." His tone was calm, almost gentle. "Then maybe you finally understand what that feels like." It hit harder than any scream ever could. I wanted to tell him I was sorry, to beg him to let me fix it. But how do you fix the fire when you're the one who struck the match? So I just stood there, crying silently, while Henry turned back toward the field. Tommy hit the ball, a clean, perfect double. The crowd erupted in cheers. Henry stood, smiling proudly, never glancing back at me again. And that's when it sank in. He'd moved on. Not to another woman. Not to another life. But to peace. That night, I went home and pulled out the old Polaroid, the one I'd once given Daniel, the same one Henry used to expose me. The photo showed a younger version of me, confident, selfish, and certain she had control over everything. I stared at her for a long time, before sliding the picture into the shredder. The machine hummed softly as it devoured the paper. My arrogance, my betrayal, my illusion of power, ripped apart piece by piece. And for the first time in years, I felt something settle inside me. Not peace, not forgiveness, just acceptance. Henry rebuilt. And I'm still learning how to. Piece by broken piece. Sometimes, late at night, I still hear his voice in my mind, the words he spoke in court, calm and steady, right before the judge finalized everything. Some people fix machines. Some fix lives. I had to do both. And he was right. Henry fixed everything, even the wreck I left behind. As for me, I'm still learning how to live among the ruins of what I destroyed with my own hands. If this story struck a chord in you, make sure to subscribe to Dark Infidelity Stories, where every betrayal carries a lesson, every confession hides a scar, and every ending reveals a truth we try to forget. Tap like, share, and comment below, because sometimes the darkest stories are the ones that remind us what it really means to rebuild.